So you can call for it, you can scream about it, you can talk about Rob Saleh's record, which he has to own. There's no question about that. He and Joe Douglas both have to own it. But they also, went out and got Aaron Rodgers for a reason, and he made that 2-year commitment. And he was on the phone with the season ticket holders.
Yes, that's right. And Al's head was right at the shot. That, by the way, that top monitor has been dead for like 2 weeks, so don't even bother. But your head has been right in the shot.
Yeah, your head's been right in the shot.
The greatest.
You got in here. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. There it is.
Good job, Al. Good
back
job.
Of his head, Dr. Evil.
Yeah, but we got the bottom one working. What do we wanted? I agree with all that. And now Nathaniel Hackett is the guy, and I'm not sure who was asking the question. It might have been Samini to Rob Saleh after the game, and Jerry might have it later in the update where he goes, "You've tried everything now with the offense, 3 different quarterbacks, and the only thing that you haven't changed is who's calling the plays. How come you haven't done that?" And Rob Saleh goes, "Well, it's a fair question, but I think you guys will get a better idea of what's going on when you see the all 22, which to me was you're going to see guys running wide open that these quarterbacks don't see, just like Zach Wilson didn't see.
Exactly. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's the worst quarterback situation in the NFL. Maybe New England's worse. There's no future at the moment.
Yeah.
The future is residing on the sideline, with an Achilles repair going on. So, and that's the immediate future for next year. That's ultimately, remember I was telling you, it all depends on how the season ends and what it looks like. Look, the defense is playing hard. Up in New England, the defense is playing hard. Half the team is keeping the games close. The offense just has no juice whatsoever. Now, the question I would have, do they go back to Zach Wilson again?
Yeah, which was a question that was asked as well to Rob Saleh. And he said, they said, is Zach a consideration? And he said he's always a consideration. I mean, I don't know.
I know he's better than these two guys, but it's just a matter of, where he was drafted, the expectations and the disappointments that have come along with him.
I mean, does it really matter who plays at this point for the Jets? They're completely out of it. I mean, if they plan on keeping Zach Wilson on the roster, which is something that we don't agree with going forward, then I guess you put him out there and say, let's see if we can salvage him in some way. I wouldn't do that. I don't know what the hell they're thinking. It doesn't matter who plays. It doesn't matter anymore. It does not matter who plays quarterback for the Jets for the rest of the year unless it's Aaron Rodgers, which would be a mistake if he came back.
No, he's not coming back.
That would be the only thing.
Here's the other thing. You know what? I'd throw Zach out there and just let him throw 50 times. Honestly, just let him go out there and throw it. Just to see if he can do it. And not for you, but maybe you showcase him for somebody else that's willing to, give you a 5th round or 4th round draft choice for him or whatever, if you can even get that for him. But why not? I mean, at this point, the season is over. I don't care what anybody says. It's not over for the players because the players will go out there and play. I was saying up at WEI this morning that, if you had to ask me, I could maybe reach for the fact that maybe the Patriots are trying to lose every single game. But the problem with saying that is, what about the defense? Their defense has given up 10 points, and 6 points in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 26 points in 3 games.
Pretty good.
That means that they're not quitting and they're not trying to lose. They're trying to win. It's just that their offense is so inept that they have no chance of putting points on the board, which is where the Jets are right now as well. Yeah,
and the Jets, I think it was 5 games. They've scored 45 points, which is what the Miami Dolphins scored yesterday in Washington. I mean,
not a fair comparison, given that Tyreek Hill is going to be one of the players that is under serious consideration for the MVP. He's well on his way to going over 2,000 yards, the first receiver in NFL history to do so, and he will do it, we all believe, prior to the 17th game.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm trying to compare these two teams. It just gives you a sort of picture of when things work in the NFL offensively, that's the best that the game has to offer, and it's in your division with the Miami Dolphins, and then the Jets are the worst that the game has to offer offensively.
Well, New England.
They're equally as bad. I mean, I can't even. I mean, they got shut out yesterday, so I guess they're worse. But I mean, 8 points. I mean, just watching this game is like, it feels like homework now. It has gotten to that point where it feels that's all it is. There's not a single bit of enjoyment watching Jets football at all.
It's kind of like, driving on the LIE and you're backed up in traffic. You're backed up in traffic for hours and hours and hours. And then you see why you're backed up in traffic. There's a fender bender, and the people are staying in the middle lane discussing their insurance issues and not getting out of the middle lane and moving over to the shoulder.
Sure.
That's what this is like. This is like, what the F are we doing? And I feel bad for the fans that ended up attending that game. I often reflect back to a game in 1995. It was against the New Orleans Saints. It was the last game of the year. Same kind of conditions, meaningless football game. 25,000 people came just to tell us how much we sucked. And I can understand exactly where the Jets are right now.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that the people who go to the games, they still have fun going for the most part, right? I mean, it's raining and it wasn't great weather, whatever, but you tailgate, you have a good time, you're there with your buddies, maybe you make a bet, I don't know. But you can't feel bad for the people that go to the games. It's a choice that they made.
I know it's a choice, but they also pay for that, too. It's supposed to be
that's also a choice.
Relentless misery. But I came out of the studio last night, probably around 7:45, and it was still raining and it was cold, and I was thinking to myself, man, how do you go to a game at MetLife Stadium under these conditions? Now, it's one thing if your team's 10-1. It's another thing if your team's playing meaningless games. I do give the fans a ton of credit for sticking by their team. You got to stick by your team. There's no question. You got to stick by your team. But, man, to sit in that slop and then lose and not even have an offense to speak of, and this is where now the owners start hearing it. They start hearing it from their season ticket holders, from the business side of the organization as to how miserable everybody else is. And that's usually what elicits change.
Yeah, but they're not. I mean, we've been talking about this for weeks now. I echo what you said a couple of minutes ago. There is no way they are changing anything in this coaching staff of meaning. Now, you want to tell me they do like a cosmetic scapegoat thing and, I don't know, maybe this position coach, that position coach or something like that just to say, oh, we're making some changes after a bad year? Maybe. But it's Aaron Rodgers calling the shots, man, and he's not going to want to see a different head coach. He's certainly not going to want to see a different offensive coordinator. He's not going to want to see a different general manager. He's signed up for these guys. And I can't imagine that he's going to, if Woody Johnson, because you know this would happen. Woody Johnson's not going to fire someone like Rob Saleh without consulting with Aaron Rodgers, because that's the reality of the situation.
Well, it all depends. Like if somehow, which would be unbelievable too, if they decided, okay, we have to make somebody the scapegoat. It's not all Rob's fault, but you know, the only way that we're going to keep Aaron Rodgers here and keep him happy is elevate Nathaniel Hackett to head coach.
Yeah, that would be the only thing that I could see.
Or somebody else. I know Jeff Ulbrich. I don't know. But I just, right now, it is just about as bad as it could be given the expectations that we all had for the team as the season started.
Yeah, and it's just going to continue to get worse throughout the next couple of games, because we did sit here last week and said, all right, if they could find a way to beat Atlanta and find a way to get to, 6-8, right? Because they would have lost to the Dolphins in there. So, or 6-9. Could they get to 9-8 is what we were talking about. Well, now forget about it. So it's just absolutely shot. So if you won the 2 games going into the Dolphin game, you would have gotten to 6 wins. And then you think, is there any way you can win out after the Dolphins game and get to 9-8? And now that's over.
We're a long way from week 6 when they beat the Eagles, and they're in the midst of a 5-game losing streak. Only one other team is in the midst of a 5-game losing streak, and that happens to be the aforementioned New England Patriots. Right now, as we wake up this morning, the Miami Dolphins are the number 1 seed by virtue of the fact that Kansas City lost last night in Green Bay. And Green Bay's quarterback, you know who he is?
Yeah, Jordan Love.
25 at 36, 267, and 3 touchdowns.
Played well.
He's been playing well.
Yeah.
So I guess Green Bay was like couldn't wait to get rid of Aaron Rodgers, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, he's had his ups and downs, but the last couple of games he's been very, very good, and this was a huge win for him, and he put his best on display on Sunday Night Football. But yeah, I mean, this is just another one of those things that drives you crazy as a Jets fan, where Aaron Rodgers is standing on the sidelines with a mustache and a walking boot and his replacement in Green Bay is beating the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. Just another one of those things.
Yes.
Just another one. You know, and the Miami Dolphins, as we talked about, you know, the preseason hard knocks with the Jets, now the in-season hard knocks, and Mike White's talking about it as the greatest quarterback room I've ever been a part of in my entire life. Tua's up there as an MVP candidate. Tyreek Hill, so you the team that lost out on Tyreek Hill, he's in the conversation as an MVP candidate. It just keeps going and going and going. I mean,
by the way, for those people in Buffalo who are watching, yesterday was a good day for the Buffalo Bills without even playing.
So last year, when the Jets got to 7-4, they lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row to end the season. So they're on the same type of track, but it could end up being even more games lost in a row. And by the way, you know, the Texans coming in, this is another one of these things.
Yeah.
A team that in a tremendous rebuild, new head coach, went through this Deshaun Watson disaster for years.
And then they called up the Browns and said, hey, by the way, you want our quarterback?
Right. Yeah.
What are you going to give us for your quarterback or our quarterback? And everything that they gave the Texans has worked out to the Texans' benefits with the players that they've selected. And they're not done selecting from that trade, by the way.
Right. So they end up winning yesterday against the Broncos. Unfortunately, their star rookie wide receiver Tank Dell fractures his leg, so that is a tough one. But you know, they go out and they draft C.J. Stroud, 2nd overall. Ohio State quarterbacks don't work out in the NFL. Well, here's C.J. Stroud just killing it every single week and being on the top of everybody's minds on Monday morning. So I mean, it's just everything that could frustrate you as a Jet fan will for every team outside of the Patriots, ironically.
Yes.
You're like, oh my God, if we could just be them. I just like to be them. You know, just some energy around the organization. And the Jets had that going into the season. And now they're just dead on arrival, just completely flatlined. Nobody cares anymore.
I was thinking that now I know there's a tinge of even more disgust in your voice this morning.
Oh, why is that?
Because Jordan Love's playing the way he's playing for Green Bay.
Oh, no.
And what is your quarterback situation moving forward for the Minnesota Vikings?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going to really be interested in how the general manager handles this draft. If there's a guy like Jalen Daniels who is available when the Vikings are picking, or they trade up and get him, I'd be into that. If they want to give Kirk Cousins a couple more years because he's rehabbing well, I'd be into that. But no, I'm not going to go nuts about the Jordan Love stuff. I mean, I can't right now.
What did you think of Joe Flacco yesterday?
That I missed him. I actually missed. This is how bad the Jets quarterback situation is, that I missed Joe Flacco. Now, by the way, he did throw one of the worst picks of all time when they still had an opportunity.
You know, it's hard to play 4 quarters when you haven't played in a year, man.
Okay, but they put him in there.
Did
so
you
if you're in there,
see some of the balls he was throwing prior to that interception?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he was a better option than after P.J. Walker and DTR, that's for sure. But this pick was pathetic.
It was
pathetic.
pathetic.
And you're down 1 point, and that stupid Browns kicker couldn't even tie the game with the extra point. And then they get the ball back, and Joe Flacco just throws it up there indiscriminately. But that's how bad, I was thinking, that's how bad it's gotten around here with quarterbacks, that watching Joe Flacco was actually refreshing. I mean, it's pathetic.
For a while there, he was playing well.
Yeah.
He was letting it rip, and I'm just sitting there going, guys, this guy's been out of football for a year.
Yeah.
I mean, and he made some great throws yesterday until that unfortunate, unforced error, an interception late in the game. Thanks so much for watching the video.
Please like and subscribe.
And don't forget to hit the bell so you're notified when we're dropping new content.